things theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly without an apology. Gotta get doxology to God hollow, because this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
And welcome back to the Gnostic Informant, and you are about to attain true gnosis. And today we're having a debate with Chris from KW True, and I have his info in the description, and check him out. And we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to have a discussion, a debate on Christianity, atheism, things in between. What is the truth? Is Christianity the truth? Is atheism the truth? Or is something else that we're going to flesh this out a little bit? And we decided that we're going to do 5-10 minutes opening discussion. We're going to flip a coin and see who goes first. Then the other person's going to do an opening. They're not going to respond to that first person yet. Both open, and then we'll respond to our openings, each other's openings after that. So there'll be 2 rounds. And then after those 2 rounds, we're just going to open the floor up and just have an open discussion back and forth. And so with that being said, here's my coin. Now I won't be able to show exactly, but what I'll try to do is I'll try to catch it on my hand and then go like this.
Hey man, you're good. You don't have to knock anything over trying to tip this.
It's a big deal anyway. But I'll let you call it in the air. So
all right.
Ready?
I'm always tails, man. Let's get it.
1, 2, 3. What do we got?
What is that?
It's tails.
Tails, look at it. Look. I'm not a prophet though.
So do you want to go first? You want to go second?
I'll go first, man. I'm cool with going first. Yeah.
The floor is yours.
All right.
So by the way, super chats, I see if you want to drop super chats, I appreciate that. But we will be waiting until the end. I'm not going to just interrupt him in the middle. So, but I appreciate that. Constellation Pegasus, I see you out there, and we will definitely get to that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So again, our tonight is over Christianity being true, atheism being true, and as just was described, everything in between. And so I like to start off just with some opening words, just keep it brief here. But I believe God is truth because God is the necessary precondition for truth, intelligibility, morality, ethics, and beauty. One must start with God to make sense of his world that he has created. And as has been said before, God is not a God you can reason to. He's a God you cannot reason without. He's transcendent and also our creator. Some of these things will be fleshed out later in our discussion, I'm very certain of. But let's start with the truth, right? What is true? Things like that. Can one know anything? Can one know anything for certain from the atheist worldview or Christian worldview? I believe truth, in order to be known, must be substantiated with other truth claims. In other words, truth is dependent upon other truth claims. I'll talk about that here in a second. A fact doesn't exist on its own, but is supported by other propositions. In other words, there's no such thing as a brute fact. There's no truth claim that exists on its own that is not relative to other truth properties or et cetera, et cetera. One must know all truth in order to substantiate anything, since truth is dependent upon other truth claims. One would have to be all-knowing. In the atheist worldview, they cannot, admittedly, hence why in their worldview, truth is subjective. We'll get to why this is problematic in a second. One of my acts, so wait a second. How does a Christian know anything for certain since they're not omniscient, right? Do you demand of yourself, or do you demand of others what you don't demand of yourself? Of course not. This is true that the Christian is not omniscient, but Christians know one who is all-knowing, the Christian God of Scripture. Hence why truth is also revelational. The Christian has a revelational epistemology. There are few problems with truth. The claim that truth is subjective and not objective. One, it's self-contradictory. To deny objective truth or reality. Is it true? Objective truth does not exist. Well, regardless of which way you answer, it's a self-contradictory and defeated proposition. Or that we can only obtain subjective truth. So one might say, well, man is limited in his reasoning and abilities to even get to capital T truth. That's how sometimes this is framed, capital T versus lowercase truth. Is truth, if truth is subjective, then how is it true? It can only be highly probability. All you have is probability and possibilities, but it cannot be actually true. In a subjective worldview, there is no truth, even the statement itself, which is the self-contradictory statement itself. So this is what the Christians have believed in texts like Colossians 1:17. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together, that being Jesus. Again, Christians appeal to the creator for truth. I'll wrap it up here in a second with one more statement about morality. Morality, are actions actually good or evil? Well, in the atheist framework, and I'm doing with atheists I've generally talked to. I'm not trying to make a character assassination on a Gnostic informant here, but just atheists I've talked to. So I'll allow him to elaborate on his position when he goes. But in the atheist framework, there is no actual good or evil. The universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is. Sorry, I'm quoting someone, Richard Dawkins. He says, the universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is at the bottom no design, no purpose, no evil, no good, nothing but blind, pitiful indifference. That is Richard Dawkins' claim that there is no good, no evil, but blind, pitiful indifference. Terrible worldview, nor does it relate to reality and the world we live in. Well, how does a Christian appeal to morality? By appealing to God and his character. Morality. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo right there. I don't know if you heard that.
You can start. You can say it back. I'll say it again.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. How does the Christian appeal to morality? By appealing to God and his character. Morality comes from God. Therefore, God is the standard of morality. He is the creator. Since God is unchangeable in his essence and divine nature, morals are universal, absolute, and objective. A couple of questions to consider. Why is it wrong to divorce on unnecessary grounds, or I would say unbiblical grounds? Because God is faithful to his bride, i.e. his church. Why is it wrong to lie? Because in God, he is unable to lie. Morality flows from the nature of God. Morality is not arbitrary things we just assign in culture or things like that. How does evolved starfish account for immoral actions? Things like rape, murder that is unjustifiable, stealing. Many atheists that I've talked to would say these things aren't objectively or inherently wrong, but they're just things we've assigned for the well-being of our society. Well, again, that's assuming that this is actually the well-being. Even that would need to be fleshed out and things like that. What is actual well-being in a subjective worldview? Things to consider. Objective truth and morality are interconnected because all truth is related to one another. As I talked about just a second ago, there is no brute fact. And so I think these things are important to, as we discuss the Christian worldview and the atheist worldview and framework and how we see the world. Everyone has a worldview. Everyone has a lens. Even the person that says, I have no worldview, that's just a terrible worldview. And so I'll leave it up to my friend to give his position.
All right. So I'll start off by saying, by definition, I can be labeled as an atheist because none of the religions that are presented by humans in the world, including Christianity, Buddhism, Norse mythology, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, none of them are standing out to me as being true or more true than any of the other of them. They're all mythology. You can trace the evolution of these ideas back to common ancestry. A lot of times in Sumer, sometimes there's Proto-Indo-European myths that are reconstructed through language. So Christianity claiming that Adam and Eve fell from heaven because they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and that they were the first humans on earth that started the race of humans, which directly opposes what we know scientifically to be a fact about evolution and how we can trace back humans going back millions of years. Whereas we take the Bible doesn't actually say in the year 4000 BCE, Adam and Eve are born. But we know by taking the genealogy in Luke, doing simple math, that we can take the date of King David to roughly around 1000 BCE, Abraham right around 2000 BCE, the flood somewhere between 2500 25 and 2700, and the creation of mankind 4000 BCE, when we know through archaeology that there was thriving civilizations during these time periods. So, going back to when Adam and Eve supposedly were spawning off all of humanity, we have Sumer being populated. We have, I would say conservatively tens of thousands of people living in the Eurasian continent. By the time the flood supposedly occurs, when mankind is wiped off and everything starts over in right around 2700 BCE, we're in the millions. There is no restart. In fact, it'd be physically impossible and scientifically impossible for the world to restart. Now, what does that have to do with the New Testament? Well, because if Adam and Eve didn't fall from heaven, then Jesus dying on the cross means absolutely nothing. So it actually does mean absolutely nothing. And if Adam and Eve aren't historically people that actually did fall from heaven and start off the race as fallen, sinful human beings, then Jesus dying on the cross means absolutely nothing. And so, with that being said, I can also look at texts like Daniel, which we know is a forgery. Daniel claims to be written in the 6th century BCE, before Alexander the Great took over the entire East, but he's using Hellenistic idioms, and he's using phrases like Iona for the kingdom of Greece. He's saying that the kingdom splintered into 4, when it splintered into at least 6. You have the kingdom of Epirus, you have the Thracian kingdom, you have the Cassander's kingdom, you have Antigonus's kingdom, Ptolemy's kingdom, Seleucid kingdom. That's not 4. The reason why he says 4 is because later on, after the dust settles, when the wars start to calm down, Seleucids beat the Antigonids, and Cassander loses to Lysimachus, and Ptolemy settles in Egypt, and it becomes 4. So the person writing this is obviously writing this way later. He also calls Darius a Mede. Darius isn't a Mede, he's a Persian. It'd be like calling me a Canadian. I'm an American. So he's getting things wrong in his own time, but he's getting things spot on, saying that an anointed will be cut down exactly when this Onias high priest falls down. So I know the Christians take this later on and reinterpret this for Jesus, just like they do for all the Old Testament. So I don't know. It's so amazing how a character can have so much in common with the Old Testament. Like Jesus, for example, being sold for 30 shekels by a man named Judas, just like Joseph being sold for 20 shekels by Judah. And, Isaac carrying his wood to his own death, just like Jesus carrying the cross. It's so amazing. It's prophecy, when the simplest answer is you're just drawing from the Old Testament. It's just fan fiction. That's what it is. And so, with that being said, I'm gonna end it right there for now. I have a lot more to say, but I'm gonna hold on to my cards for now and hear your response to that. And go ahead.
Yeah. I appreciate that. So he started off saying that no religion stands out as truth, just myth. It is all just mystical stories, fanciful men, and old wives' tales of interesting men in the past. Well, this assumes an actual objective standard. This actually assumes a standard that it is false and myth. I would, I understand probably wasn't the intention of his opening statement, but I would like to hear a grounding for truth, epistemic framework, things like that. It was stated that Adam and Eve didn't fall from heaven, and I agree. Maybe it was a mistake, but they didn't fall from heaven since they were on earth. So I thought it was pretty funny. But appealing to facts of evolution. Again, standing on an objective groundwork when the atheist worldview is, I don't know how you can appeal to facts when there is no such thing as facts in an atheist framework worldview, as Richard Dawkins has even alluded to, as I quoted in my opening. A constant appeal to we know this. Again, a constant appeal to objectivity. The atheist framework is dependent on the Christian worldview because They are grounding their statements in objectivity, facts, absolute. Go back and listen to what was just said. It was a great argument for objectivity. Um, Again, an appeal to contradictions. They make no sense in an atheistic worldview. What is a contradiction when there is no such thing as absolute truth? Something I would like to consider. Um, if you can't have a contradiction if there is no truth, it's just blind, pitiful indifference, as Richard Dawkins stated. Lastly, was just stated about assuming that the Old Testament texts, right? They're just kind of pointing to Jesus, just saying, "Oh, that's interesting. They just happen to fit Jesus." Well, that's assuming that they aren't, and assuming the motives of the writers. Um, and essentially, I understand how this is problematic in an atheistic worldview, but there's no allowance for prophecy. There's no allowance for supernaturalism, right? The atheist worldview is naturalistic. They cannot allow for it. Their worldview will interpret anything that is contradictory to their worldview, even things like prophecy, even things like supernatural events, as some kind of natural event that we can just explain by human reasoning and logic, et cetera, et cetera. And so yeah, that's all I have to say about that for now, but I'll let Gnostic Informant respond to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to when you opened up and you said that you can't know what's true. You have no way of knowing what's true, but you know that the Christian God is true. So therefore, can you fix? Maybe I heard you wrong.
I said the atheist doesn't in their worldview.
Okay, so how do you know what do you let's talk about epistemology for a second. I
would like for you to respond. Yeah, go ahead. Then we'll engage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going back to your opening because we're responding to that first. Is oh, you're right. I do have to. I'm sorry. I'm skipping. I have to do my little.
You ready to attack? You ready?
Yeah. Let me finish that. So all right. So what I heard from you is atheists can't know anything because they don't have some sort of like model to base it off. They don't have a ultimate idea, which is the Christian God, basically, to compare it to. But I mean, you don't have to like the idea that a God has to be set in place. Therefore, I believe it's true because it says it's true, is what I'm hearing. So the Christianity is true because it says it's true. And it's because atheism doesn't have a replacement for it, that we're all just like lost in space and we have no idea what we're doing. We can't figure anything out. We can't decide right from wrong. We can't decide 1 + 1 is 2. We don't have there's no truth at all. And I think that is just ludicrous. I mean, do you actually think that's convincing as an argument that people can't know what's true unless they have a God to tell them that it's true? And so, I do kind of want to just jump into the discussion because I kind of want to get I mean, I'll even time myself out right there. Let's get right into it. Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think you misunderstood my argument. I actually believe atheists do know things, but it's not according to their worldview. That's why, as Bonton has said, atheists can count. Sometimes they can count better than Christians, but they cannot account for their counting.
What do you mean by that?
They cannot justify the truth claims that they do appeal to and make.
Okay, all right. Let's take the look at Daniel, for example. I talk about Daniel, and Daniel's using idioms like Hellenistic idioms that are not used in the time of the Babylonians and the Persians. They're only so it'd be like right now, you and me talking. What's up, bro? What's up, dude? What's good, bro? What's good? Like that is a modern idiom that you will not hear in the year 1600. So if I have a text that claims to be from the year 1600 and I start reading it and it says, "Yo, what's good, bro? Yo, I'm chilling." That's not from 1600. I know it's from the 2000s. That's how we look at Daniel when we have experts that know the Greek, that are fluent in Greek, that
was written in Hebrew. So
I'm talking about the Septuagint, the Greek. I'm talking about the Greek in particular because the idioms are Greek.
Well, yeah,
and even the earliest Christians. We have a letter from Africanus and Origin talking about how Daniel has to be written in Greek first. Daniel is one of the texts that are first in Greek and then translated back to Hebrew. Daniel's the one. Susanna, Bell and the Dragon. We have early Christians saying, early Christians. This is not just a modern scholar thing. Early Christians, Origen's talking about this. And so
what's the question?
Well, I'm giving you an example. We can know things. We can know things through study, through people being experts, through science, through the scientific method, through the historical method, through archaeology. It amazes me that you think that you people can't know things.
I didn't say that. Work. I didn't say that. I said you cut off my argument. I said you cannot know anything according to your worldview. I actually believe you know things. Remember, I said you're standing on someone else's ground to appeal to what you know. But according to the atheist worldview, you cannot know anything. Again, is truth absolute and objective?
So let me get this straight.
Oh, well, I do want you to answer that question real quick because I think that'll solve a lot of the confusion.
All right, ask it again.
Is truth objective and absolute in your estimation and worldview?
It depends on what we're talking about.
Okay.
Depends on what
so
we can't know. So there's certain things that we can't know fully, but we can go on what is
okay. We
can go on likeliest. What's the evidence that we have? We can't just assume that we have the answer to everything based off what we want to be right.
Yeah, I'm not claiming to be infallible or all knowing. I said that in my opening, right? No one's all knowing. No man is mere man is all knowing. But do you believe there's any objective or absolute truth statement or claim?
Well, like mathematics, stuff like that.
Anything.
Yeah, math
is absolute.
I mean, 1 + 1 is 2 is absolutely true.
And it's in every way. So what about morally speaking?
Well, that depends on what we're getting at. So let's get into morality. Where does morality come from? Is that what you want to get at?
I mean, if that's what you would like, this is your show, man. You control the reins on this.
Well, you can ask questions too. So how about, something like rape? Is that morally, is that objectively wrong?
Yeah.
It is. Okay, so when Deuteronomy 21 says, when you go out to war against your enemies and the Lord your God delivers them into your hand so that you take captives, you could see a comely woman among the captives and become so enamored by her that you wish to have her as your wife. You may take her home to your house, but before she may live there, she must shave her head and pare her nails and lay her side her captive's guard. After she has mourned her father for a full month, you may have relations with her, and you shall be her husband, and she shall be your wife. Is that objectively morally okay?
Seems like you're insinuating that this was rape going on.
Yeah, that is rape. When you take a woman against her own will and do whatever you want with it, that's what rape is, bro.
That's not what it said. That's not what it said.
When you take a woman against her will and
that's not what it said.
That's what it says. No. It says, women among the captives become so enamored of her that you wish to have her as your wife. You may take her to your house.
So let me explain. And there's kind of echo going on, but let me explain the cultural context of what was going on here. Women that were husbandless were seen as captives of war, and oftentimes they were raped. Oftentimes, and a wandering woman was bad for the ancient Near Eastern culture, and so this woman would be either a slave and put through harsh, brutal times, or she would be physically raped. She would be mistreated. What the Bible is actually promoting is taking care of this woman. Look, if you want to marry this woman, then
you're not even asking her what she thinks, though.
She would know what she has happen.
No choice.
Here's her options: get raped by the ancient Near Eastern world, or brutally killed.
Where does it say that in the text?
That's what's happening in the ancient Near Eastern world.
No. You just inserted that yourself. There's nothing in the text. She's allowed to.
Are you saying the ancient Near Eastern world was kind to women?
God is so moral. If your God that you claim is true is so moral and correct, why doesn't it just say, let her go free? Let her pick whoever
because she would be killed and brutally raped.
How do you know that?
Because the ancient Near Eastern world was not kind to women.
Neither. Wait, but you don't know. You don't know what your options are. You're saying that
that is the option. She can get married to an Israelite.
There's a million options in between.
No, there's only two. Remember, her husband just died in war.
What? But so she has to go with her captive and do
She
whatever.
does,
She says.
she doesn't have
That's what
to.
it
She can go
says.
get raped and
That's what it says. It
brutally
says
killed.
it says he's allowed to do whatever he wants with her.
That's not what it says.
That's what it says. Want to read it again?
That's not what it says. That's your interpretation,
After
but that's
she
not
has
what it
mourned
says.
her father and mother
Yes.
for a full month, you may have relations with
That
her.
doesn't sound like do whatever you want if it's allowing her to be mourned.
All right, so let's go to another example.
Okay, go ahead.
When a man sells his daughter, this is
What
Exodus,
verse are you referring to?
Exodus 21:7. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she will not be freed at the end of 6 years as the men are. If she does not please the man who bought her, he may allow her to be bought back again, but he is not allowed to sell her to foreigners since he is the one who broke the contract with her. And if the slave girl's owner arranges her to marry his son, he may no longer treat her as a slave girl, but he must treat her as a daughter. If he himself marries her and then takes another wife, he may not reduce her food or clothing or fail to sleep with her as a wife.
Her marital rights. That's actually what it says. Her marital rights.
Again, where's the woman's choice in this? You think this you actually think this is morally okay?
Yes. The other option is that a woman will be brutally killed and murdered. What the Bible was actually offering is that the Israelite take her in.
This is
and actually,
slavery.
hold on. Let me explain. The Bible is actually allowing for this woman to be taken in and cared for, unlike what she would be getting if she was just sure, she can go out and be killed and murdered and brutally, as you say, that should be her next option, I guess. But the Bible is actually saying, take care of this woman, provide for her. That is much different than the story in the context that you're just portraying right now. Just rape her, just have much sex you want, rape her. That's not what it's saying at all.
This is saying that this is an object of possession. This is not a human being with their own choices.
No, it's not.
It literally starts off when a man sells his daughter as a slave.
Yes, that's correct.
She will not be free. So slavery is okay then?
Absolutely not. The Bible condemns man stealing.
It says when a man sells his daughter as a slave.
Yes. This is descriptive of what happened. Yes.
So where do you see that your God says that slavery is bad?
When it says don't steal a man. Which
verse are you talking about? So stealing slaves is bad, but just selling slaves is okay. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the Bible actually deals in the cultural context of what it is. So just because you see a text dealing with something like rape, the Bible deals with stealing as well. It's not promoting that action, but it's actually addressing the issue in the cultural context. We do this all the time. It doesn't mean you're actually condoning the action.
All right, so let's get into a more clear example.
But I would like you to ground what is actually wrong with raping someone.
What is wrong with raping somebody? Well, first of all,
by what standard?
So we have through evolution and through evolution, basically it comes down to evolution, that we have within us the ability to fear, to have grievance, to be angry, to be sad, we have these emotions. And when you rape somebody, those are bad feelings. That's objectively wrong. No one likes to be raped, so rape is bad.
How do you know your feelings are actually correct about the situation?
Because this is like
you talked about evolution. So are you saying at one time, so we evolved to believe rape is wrong, or it is wrong?
We evolved.
So at one point, rape was not wrong.
Well, if we're talking about human existence, it's always been wrong.
So it didn't evolve. It's inherent.
Yeah, but it doesn't make a difference.
You just contradicted yourself.
No,
you just said it evolved to it. Now you're saying it's inherent. Which one is it?
Our feelings that we harbor for certain things that happen to us is a result of our evolution as humans.
Do feelings dictate what is truth?
Yeah,
they do.
In the case of rape, yeah.
Why not other things?
In the case of rape, because it's just simple. It's like I think, therefore I am.
Axiom. Just an axiom. It is what it is, right? It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So it's true because you've asserted it's true.
It's true because everybody agrees that it's true.
Not everybody does.
Who?
Rapists.
Rape. So like the guys in the Bible that follow Yahweh, those guys.
Again,
Like
the Bible
Yahweh.
condemns that action. You've already established you misunderstood the text.
But here's the thing: we can get into.
But again, I want
morality.
you to actually answer the question. I want you to answer it.
I answered the question. It's wrong because people feel bad when it happens.
Yes, it feels bad because they're in their
feels
feelings.
bad. Yeah. And so, with that being said, are you going to sit there and tell me that it's because of Yahweh that we feel these horrible feelings about rape? When in the
I don't care how you feel about it, because truth isn't dictated on how you feel.
So why is rape bad to you then?
Not
in the Bible doesn't say it's bad.
It does, but anyways, so rape is wrong.
Let's go to a more. I don't want to.
Well, hold on. I want to stick on this issue.
Got a clear.
So I'm going to give you my moral framework, which I gave. I don't know if you really heard what I was saying. The morality exists because it flows from the essence and character of God. So remember, I said the reason why lying is wrong is because God is not a liar. It flows from his nature. The reason why divorce is wrong is because God is faithful to his bride. The reason why rape is wrong because he does not rape his bride, right? So I base morality in the character and nature of God when you base it in feelings.
So when Abraham lied to Pharaoh, was that okay?
It was wrong.
It was wrong. Okay. So
yeah.
All right.
The Bible. Right. The Bible tells about many sinners in the Bible. That's no shock.
All right. So let me get you a very clear example. Deuteronomy 20:10. If you approach a town to attack it, first offer the people terms of peace. If they accept your terms and open the gates, then tell all the people inside they will serve you in forced slavery. But if they refuse to make peace and prepare to fight, you must attack the town.
Wait. Deuteronomy 22:10.
Deuteronomy 20:10 through 14.
Deuteronomy 10.
If they refuse to make peace and prepare
hold on a second. Hold on. We got to look at the text together, my friend.
All right.
Deuteronomy 10.
Deuteronomy 10. Deuteronomy 20:10 through 14.
20, not 10.
Did I say that wrong? Sorry.
Deuteronomy 20:10 through 14. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Back to the text. So if they accept your terms and open the gates to you, then all the people inside will serve you in forced labor. So the good option is slavery. If they refuse to make the peace and prepare to fight, you must attack the town. When the Lord your God hands it over to you, kill every man in the town. But you may keep for yourselves all the women, children, and livestock and other plunder. You may enjoy the spoils of your enemies that the Lord God has given you. Now, is that morally okay? Because God said so. Giving people the option.
I didn't actually. You're actually doing.
But what
you're not repeating my argument. I didn't say it's moral because God said so. I said it because it flows from God's nature.
And then we're talking about God's nature right now in these examples in the Bible.
Actually, we're not. So you just appeal to it. Well, God says it. That was your opening statement, which missed completely what I said in my opening.
So the Bible's wrong then.
That's not what I said.
So what happened here in this verse?
Completely what we read.
Who's telling Moses what to do about when they attack towns?
Yes, it is the Lord.
So is the Lord is the Lord wrong? Is he evil? What's your answer to that?
What are you objecting to?
I'm saying if you think morality in the fact that we think rape and slavery and murder is wrong because God said so, when God himself is saying to go do those things, that is a contradiction.
Well, I would say you're adding to the text because it doesn't say to rape.
I'm not adding anything. I'm not adding.
Where did it say go rape these people?
It says, you may enjoy the spoils of your enemies that the Lord your God has given you. You may keep for yourselves the women, the children, and the livestock.
Okay. Where did it say to rape them?
We just have to go to the ones I gave you before that.
You already established you misinterpreted those and didn't understand the cultural context.
All right, next verse. Deuteronomy 21:10 through 14. When you go out to war against your enemies.
You're searching, man. You're searching. What else you got?
Later on, listen, let me finish because you asked the question, where did I find this from? I'm going to tell you now. When God delivers them into your hands, that you take the captives. If you see a comely woman among the captives and become enamored by her, that you may have.
What verse are you reading?
Deuteronomy 21:10 through 14.
Okay,
and then it says, if later on you lose your liking for her, you shall give her freedom if she wishes it. But
The very thing you said should happen, right? She should be able to go free.
This is following.
This is what you just said. So this is what you wanted.
This is you just said. Where's all the raping coming from? It's the
Whoa,
next.
wait, hold on, wait.
The next
Where
verse.
did it say rape?
I just gave you an example of God telling Moses to go and kill, put people into slavery, and take women as your livestock.
Where did it say for rape them?
The next verse, Deuteronomy 21. I'm sorry, the next passage, not verse, is saying that if one of the captives of your
Verse
woman
14?
like her, verse 10, 10 through 14.
It doesn't say rape.
It doesn't say the word rape, but when you take a woman against her will, that's rape, bro.
Again, I've explained the cultural context behind that.
That doesn't matter. You're just wrong.
It does matter.
You're just wrong. You think it's
but
okay.
Again, that's
the thing that
Neil,
I don't. You can say it all you want.
To be fair,
people are not seeing the Christian morality for what it is.
Neil,
you think it's okay because the Bible said so.
Let me. I gave actually more intellectual argument than that, but you're reducing my argument. But all you've given to counter me, it says my feels. That's all you have.
No, I'm telling you what the text says.
No. I've said all you've had to counter your worldview, your position is your feels. And Christians are feelings led. That's all I hear from atheists. It's all feelings. All feelings.
How is yours not? How is yours not?
I'm not going. I say we're careful.
You want Christianity to be true. That's why it's true to you.
That's
you
irrelevant.
can't. You know.
That's not my argument, Neil. That's not my argument. You're not. To be fair, you're not dealing with my actual argument.
So you think Christianity is true,
regardless of what I want it to be. I'm saying this is the case.
No. But it's your feels too. You think Christianity?
I'm not basing it on my feels.
It says it's true.
That's not my argument.
So then, how do you know it's true?
I gave my reasoning in my opening statement. If you were listening, I took notes with you. Did you take notes?
Well, I want you to. I want you to tell me why you think Christianity is true.
Do you want me to give my opening statement again?
No. Just tell me the one simple question. We're not playing games here.
I'm not playing games. I gave a full length understanding of why I believe Christianity is true.
Yeah, you said a lot of like weird presuppositional mumbo jumbo.
Okay, we'll deal with it.
I asked you a straight up question. You don't have to give me a mumbo jumbo script that you have now. The straight up question is, why do you know Christianity is true?
The same way you do, because God is the necessary precondition for all intelligibility, logic, morals, and ethics.
That does not make any sense.
Try listening.
You're saying Christianity is true because God says so in my Bible.
That's not what I said.
Say it again.
Christianity is true. You ready?
Yeah.
Because God is the necessary precondition for all intelligibility, logic,
says who? Says who? The Bible, right?
Says the world we live in.
What?
I gave a whole answer and explanation on this.
Where would you know that other than humans telling you this, or the Bible, or a church? How would you? Were you born knowing that? What you just said? Someone taught you that. Someone taught you that, right? What you just said.
Someone taught me what?
Someone taught you that the only reason Christianity is true because God is because God is the,
you try, man. I'll give it to you. You try.
No.
I was taught certain things about God. Yes. You were taught certain things about it.
So how do you know
being
that's
taught
true?
something?
How do you know
something doesn't mean it's false.
How do you know that's true?
Because without it, you couldn't know anything for certain. And all you have is your feelings. Like
you're
like you. I'd be like you. That's what I'd be like you.
No, but you're just saying words right now.
Oh, well, of course, that's all I have is words.
It doesn't even sound convincing.
You want me to say cars? Like, of course, I'm saying words. That's how we communicate.
What I'm getting at is I'm asking you a really simple question. I'm like, how do you decide that this is the true God and not Islam? How do you decide that this is the true God and not Hinduism?
For now, the only two worldviews on the table is Christianity and atheism. I do not have to I don't have to show you why every other religion is false for me and you and I to gauge. Because I don't do that to you. Why? Atheism,
you can do that. You can.
No. Let me show you why. Let me show you why. Because I'm debating an atheist. I am not debating the atheist and the Mormon and the Muslim.
I'm open to there being deism, to there being a power or a mind behind the universe.
I'm sure.
But with that, even if we, you and I, for the sake of argument, agreed that there is a creator that sparked off the universe, that started evolution and everything is a result from then until now. Christianity is still long gone out of the picture.
So you're willing to abandon your atheism for a general God that you like.
No. I'm saying if
What
it
would
was
this God
true,
look like?
I don't know. Listen to what I'm saying. If it was true that there was a creator that based on everything we know, with evolution being a fact.
How do we know? How is it a fact?
Evolution is a fact because we can look at fossils, and we can see over time how through the layers and rocks layers that the bottom layers have the less developed and the top layers have the closer to humans. And it's predictable every time any place we dig, we know exactly what it's going to be.
And so that proves evolution as a fact.
Absolutely.
How does different layers prove?
Okay, so
that there is no hold on, let me ask my question. How does that prove that there's no intelligence design and that
that's
the
what
Earth is million years ago?
That's what I'm willing to go with you on.
Oh, so you're open to the fact that God exists.
If there was a God that's created the universe, that sparked everything off, right? And we agreed on that. That still means Christianity is still nowhere to be found in this being in Christianity being true, because we still know when the so-called flood happened that society was that civilizations were thriving and there was no global flood, and we still know that there was no we would still know that humans were on Earth long before Adam and Eve supposedly started off.
So because society was sort of thriving prior to the flood, that means that there was no.
Yeah, because if Adam and Eve aren't the first two humans that exist when the Bible says it does, then Jesus died for no reason.
You know that prior to the flood there were still lots of people. There was thriving societies.
Well, doesn't the Bible say that everybody was killed and the world started over again with 8 people?
Sure.
Okay, so we can do archaeology and we can look around the world and we see that didn't happen. The civilization was thriving in that time. There was no start over.
Okay.
There's things about the Bible that are just objectively false. So we can just
objective according to what standard?
According to experts, according to archaeology.
Experts aren't the standard for objectivity.
Scientific method.
They don't
historical method.
So again,
how is it not?
Objectivity is not rooted in the experts. That's a fallacy appeal.
So how do you decide? How do you decide that Jesus actually rose from the dead?
Well,
based on what? You need to do some historical work, right?
No, not necessarily.
So you just decide it's true.
You don't have a historical explanation for everything,
right? But how do you decide that Christian?
How do you know? So you admit you don't have a historical explanation for everything, right?
Yeah, but
that you believe.
But we have experts that do work.
You just appeal. Well, there you go. I appeal to an expert.
We have centuries of knowledge that are built on other
centuries of knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'll just appeal to an expert.
Sure.
There are numerous scholars who do believe in a resurrection. So if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me.
Right. But when you go to you pick and choose the fringe Gary Habermas. Yeah. It's resounding.
So because they're not as popular,
resoundingly agreed upon.
Let me. So your scholars are more popular than mine. So that's what you're doing. These are fallacy appeals right here. These are question begging. You and I still go to the work, go to the text, go to these experts and listen to what they're saying, and still have to weigh out. You're right. We do have to decide. There you go. But, so they're not the definition of what objectivity is then. So if you admit that you can still they're not infallible. They're not absolute essentially.
You're right.
So it actually begs the question: how do you know?
Logical. It's logical that first of all, so like I said, if Adam and Eve aren't the only two humans that were on Earth that started human civilization, then what did Jesus die on the cross for?
Logic according to what standard?
I'm explaining to you. So if it's true that Adam and Eve are not the first two humans to live, right when the Bible says it does, the Bible claims that they lived around, let's say 4000-ish BCE, based on doing the
Bible
math.
Doesn't give the date.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You're wrong. Nope. You're wrong because all you got to do is take the genealogy of Luke and do the math.
Again,
No, no, no,
So,
no. Listen to what I'm saying.
listen to what I'm saying.
Bible
Luke
tells
is
you
not given an exhaustive
Yeah.
genealogy. That's very clear.
You want me to explain it to you? Luke gives you the genealogy.
It's not exhaustive. He
You
doesn't
go
name
to-
everybody.
All you got to do is go to the book of Chronicles and Kings.
Did you know that?
Do you listen to what I'm saying? You're not. It's like you're playing a game with me right now. Listen to what I'm saying.
Not allowed to tell facts.
Kings and Chronicles tells you how old the kings were when they died, when they had their children, how old Noah, and then going back to Genesis, how old was Noah and how old was Abraham. There's math that you can do to come to that date. If either the Bible is lying or it's true. You think the Bible is true, right? The Bible's true, right?
I don't want to be accused of playing games if I answer.
No, I'm just asking. Look. You said the Bible doesn't give a date. It doesn't give a date. I said this earlier,
and I give it reasoning. The Bible.
gives
So
you-
are you saying the Bible
Bible-
tells you it's
Bible
4,000
gives
years
enough-
old?
the Bible gives us enough information to tell us that the world was created in 7 days, about 6,000 years ago.
6 days. You're wrong on that. 6 days.
All right, 6 days, around 6,000 years ago. Yes or no?
No, I don't believe so.
So the Bible's wrong then.
No, you're wrong.
Why? The Bible,
Because I've already given you a reasoning.
you're ignoring what the Bible says because
no,
you know.
Here's
Hold on,
why.
This is it. This is it.
I want to explain.
this is
I
it.
want to explain my reasoning. I want to explain.
Just walk.
I want to explain my reasoning.
You
There you
know.
go. Let's hear it.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you talk. I'm sorry.
The
Go ahead.
reasoning is the Bible does not give exhaustive genealogies. Sure, you can get a speculation around sometime, but not. There you go.
It gives enough data.
So you're objectively certain about the dating of the Bible.
The Bible's wrong, but I know what the Bible claims.
I don't think so. If you
There's
handle the Bible like you did
data.
Deuteronomy 21, I don't think you do.
There's enough data. Listen to what I'm saying now.
I've heard you.
This is a fact right now, what I'm about to say. There's enough
On
data
what standard?
in the Old Testament. There's enough data in the Old Testament to date when Adam and Eve were alive. Either the Bible's wrong, and we can just deny that the Adam and Eve were started the world 6,000 years ago.
This is a false dichotomy.
So this is the whole point
This
is
a
that
false dichotomy.
you happen right now to know that if you were to try to ride out or try to claim that it's true what the Bible says, that in 6,000 years ago Adam and Eve started humanity,
The Bible doesn't say
you
that.
know that there's problems with that. That's why you won't admit that. But that's what the
Nope.
Bible says. So you're admitting that the Bible's wrong.
It doesn't say that.
It does.
I'm not admitting that. I'm admitting your conclusions.
Okay, so when
false.
was King David alive?
I don't know the exact dates.
This is not like we all know it's right around 1000 BCE.
That wasn't my point of contention. My point of contention was over the genealogy is not exhaustive, which you're trying to make it exhaustive.
Okay, all right, I'll tell you right now what it says. King David, son of Jesse.
That doesn't answer my point.
Let me just say this. It is exhaustive. King David, son of Jesse, son of Obed, son of Boaz, son of Salah, son of Nahshon, son of Amadiad, son of Admin, son of Arni, son of Hezron, son of Perez, son of Judah, son of Jacob, son of Isaac, son of Abraham, son of Terah, son of Nahor, son of Serug, son of Seru, son of Peleg, son of Eber, son of Shelah, son of Canaan, son of Arphaxad, son of Shem, son of Noah. Is the Bible wrong or is it lying? Or is it lying or is it true?
No, it's not trying to be exhaustive as you claim.
So the Bible's lying then.
No. We do this too, man. See, this is the point I'm making. You don't apply the same standards for the Bible that you do for yourself. Someone asked you, man.
Why?
Let me give you an example. If someone was asked, hey man, name some people in your family. If you didn't give every single person in your family name, are you lying? Or are you just giving a general statement or not a non-exhaustive statement?
But you claim that the Bible is the word of God. Why would the Bible not know that?
Again, the Bible can have different intentionalities in its point. It doesn't have to give every single person. It doesn't have to be exhaustive. That's not the point.
No,
that's not the goal.
The Bible is telling. The Bible doesn't say.
The Bible,
The Bible doesn't say.
This is an absurd argument. Seriously,
because this
is a modern absurd argument.
Because you know that
I
by
know that
following
you're
my
misusing
logic right now. You know by following my logic right now.
If I follow your logic, yes.
Okay.
The logic is absurd, but yes, if I follow the logic, sure.
Yeah, you're right. 6,000 years ago, there wasn't 2 people living. It was tens of thousands. All right.
Okay.
At least we got that out the way. I'll leave you alone on that one. So
Mr. Fields wants to tell us an objective fact. You know, hey, I'm enjoying myself.
No,
I
me
am
too.
enjoying myself, man.
I'm enjoying this too. But like certain things we can't know. We have to appeal to experts. We have to appeal to
Then how do they know it?
scientific method, historical method,
How do they know it?
because we have knowledge. We have knowledge that's built on knowledge, and we have people doing the work.
Yeah, so you agree with my
I could be
statement
wrong. I could be
yeah.
wrong, but I'm
So you don't
telling you
actually
how
know it.
well, I'm not omnipotent. I don't know everything.
Well,
I'm not claiming that.
omniscient is the correct term. But it seems you agree with what I said in the beginning about facts not being brute. Did you understand what I meant by that? Like you kind of just described it there a second ago. Like
Yeah,
truth has relative. They have other properties that are related that are dependent upon one another, right?
sure,
Like there's no brute facts.
sure.
What about so given that, wouldn't it conclude one has to know everything to know anything at all, since truth is connected to other truth statements? So essentially, if I'd have asked you how do you know this? Let's say we take a building is 50 feet, right? That would incorporate other truth claims that would be dependent upon knowing the measure of that building. Would you concede that?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Sorry,
No,
maybe that's too.
I just want to make sure I hear you right. I don't wanna-
Okay, so essentially, we're agreeing that truth is related to other truth claims. There's no independent truth. Right? Truth claims work upon other truth claims.
Right.
For example, if I said how tall is this building, well, that would assume that that would assume other truth claims like my lot that I know. One, the measure of the building, I know how to measure.
Sure.
I know how to do logic. So,
Okay.
so wouldn't that conclude that one has to know all things in order to know anything for certain? Since all truth is connected in some way or some way.
I get what you're saying, but like this is
Or one cannot say they know anything for certain.
yeah, no, I agree with that.
So you don't know anything for certain.
Well, there's degrees. It's not like black and white. No, this duality.
Again,
That's some child.
Remember, to know anything, you must know all things.
Yeah, but that's not
You already
white.
You already agree with it.
No, but here's the thing: there are certain degrees of how we test. There's degrees of certainty for certain things.
Like, but you would not be absolute certain about anything, but general certain.
I can be certain right now that I'm holding this in my hand. Absolute certain.
Absolute.
I'm not certain what book's behind your head. I could try to read it right now, but I can guess, but I don't know. It's like there's certain degrees of knowledge that we have.
So absolute truth is obtainable.
Absolute truth is obtainable. Where'd you get that from? Where did I say to tell you that?
Well, you just said you're absolutely certain about something.
Degrees of knowledge.
And then you just held up the book and said, I'm absolutely certain I'm holding it. So absolute truth is obtainable.
For certain things.
How would you know it?
How would I know what?
What is obtainable for certain things? Since all truth is connected.
It depends on what we're talking about. It's not just a black and white thing. This isn't this doesn't apply across the board for everything. Is that what you think?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's where our frameworks differ.
Well, why would you think that everything is either you don't know anything or you know everything? You have to know everything to know everything.
Why would you agree? Because you agree that all truth is connected, and no truth is a brute fact.
Well, it's. I mean,
we're getting a logical syllogism that I'm.
We're getting into linguistics at that point.
It's not linguistic. It's a logical syllogism.
Sure, but what I said is it depends on what we're talking about.
So the statement. So that's the problem. But because if all truth is connected, right? No truth exists on its own. Then that follows for everything, not just some things.
Okay.
So then you can't just say, well, that's just for some things.
Well, I just told you it depends on what we're talking about.
Okay. All right. We can move on to something else then.
All right. Yeah. Because it's just. Yeah.
All right.
So let me go ahead. Ask me.
I was going to ask you something. It's kind of relevant, but kind of not. What's your background, man? Like not your actual background, but like your epistemic background? Like, did you grow up in Christianity or what?
Yeah, I when I was in prison, I got saved, became born again, and studied
I'm
my
sorry
way
about that.
studied my way out of Christianity over
Gotcha.
time.
How long ago was that, if you don't mind me asking?
2 years ago,
Okay. Okay. And
and
so
yeah,
you
that's
started
pretty much it.
looking more in the Bible.
I've been studying ancient history and ancient mythology. You know, it's taking classes on Greek and Hebrew, learning languages, and doing rigorous studies into this stuff ever since. For the last,
Do you know a little Greek?
yeah,
Okay, cool. Cool,
and
man.
Hebrew.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah,
That wasn't a
yeah.
gotcha question.
You
Just
could
yeah.
you could quiz me. I could read Greek right now. If I can
No,
read
man.
Hebrew, I can read Hebrew right now. If
What
you
about
want.
NRK and Logos and Proston Theon?
You want John 1:1?
There you go, man. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah,
Good
that's a good
stuff,
one.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know a little Greek. I'm no expert or scholar, but yeah, I know a little Greek.
yeah. I mean, if we want to know what these people wrote down, I mean, for
Yeah, it's
example,
important.
John, I mean, the logos is a concept that goes back way before Christianity. That's a deep concept that the Platonists and Heraclitus were pondering for centuries. It's an interesting topic, but then you have to get into like some of these English Bibles are adding and subtracting verses from the Greek, like First John 5:7. There's nothing in the Bible about Trinity. They added the Trinity verse. What do you think about
Yeah,
that?
I would say, yeah, that's a textual variant. One, it doesn't say Trinity, but
Right.
I would say, yeah, it's a textual variant. It doesn't exist in the early manuscripts. But about the logos, the Hebrews had a concept of the word. So I think a lot of people assume that John is using a pagan, and pagan, I don't mean as an insult, but non-Hebrews, right? Definition of logos, when I don't believe that's what he's doing. Remember, John is a Hebrew. He's still a Jew. And my opinion is that he's using Hebrew. He literally starts the verse off similar to Genesis 1:1. And so I believe he's speaking of the Hebrew definition of the word, not the logos in the word in sense of a Roman Greco definition, but that can be debated.
Yeah, I mean, because all you got to do is point to someone like Philo, and you see the Middle Platonism creeping into Judaism with Greek-speaking Hellenized Jews in the first century.
But again, if that was his goal, why would he quote Genesis 1:1? I mean, it really wouldn't make no sense to appeal to.
Well, because he's still a Jew,
Hebrews.
like you said, he's still a Jew. I'm not disagreeing with that. There's obviously
Wouldn't it be more plausible to believe he's speaking about the Hebrew word than as a Jew?
Hebrew word?
Yeah, the Hebrews had a concept of the word. Of the word, yes, and he appeals to Genesis 1 for that, and that's all throughout the Old Testament. If you maybe afterwards I can send you something.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know what that would have to do with this discussion. But
Well, it's very important since we were talking about the word.
Okay,
What
which
that is.
verses are you talking about where the word is described in the Old Testament?
I didn't come prepared specifically.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's clearly
because this is relevant to what I'm about to get at. Is that
you go ahead.
What makes you think that Christianity is somehow how do I phrase this?
Unique?
Like okay, so let's go with that. What makes you
I know you got a lot of videos on that, so
yeah, so maybe you saw my my video that I have in the trailer with Christianity being unique, coming out of nowhere, all coming from the mouth of Jesus. And that how do you like I can point to text like Philo, like some of these Middle Platonist peripatetic school thinkers that have certain ideas. I can point to Hillel the Elder says love your neighbor as yourself, and these ideas that are predating.
That's not unique. That's not unique to the incarnation of even Jesus. That's mentioned.
No,
in the
I
Old
think
Testament,
I think Jesus existed, but I think
good. You know, that's not a very popular consensus amongst atheists, though.
Well, I think it's half. I think it's 50-50 with I think it's a lot. There's a lot.
Most that I talk to, like Jesus never existed at all.
There are like atheists who think that. I think it's the most likely scenario. There's a guy who got crucified, who was very charismatic, who had a following, who touched people, and they felt the need to preserve his sayings. And so I know some scholars, atheist scholars, who who have the cube, who reconstruct their own cues. Dr. John Kloppenborg, who I'm going to be interviewing in 2 months from now, in person, and Dr. McDonald. And
Dr. Ehrman also.
there are certain
Ehrman holds to that as well, that Jesus was he
Yeah.
existed.
Well, there are certain things about that he would, and looking at the things that are attributed to him in the Gospels, there are certain things that they think that probably weren't. It's more likely they weren't made up, like not everything, but like certain things, very skeleton version of these texts. But anyways, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that what makes you think that the stuff that you're getting in the New Testament actually happened when we don't have any sources that are like contemporary with Jesus. You were writing for like a century later. Tacitus, Suetonius, that's almost a century later. That's in the 2nd century. Josephus is the late Josephus is writing in 96 AD. What makes you think that all this stuff is? Where is the contemporary sources?
Well, generally, that's not how stuff in that time worked. I mean, because if the Bible, it has the most contemporaneous and stuff. I mean, there's some much older writings or writings around that time that took 500 years for people even to write about it and stuff.
Fair
but
enough.
the Bible has the earliest attestation for its events than any work
Compared to who?
Put it on the table.
But Nero, people wrote about Nero while he's alive.
I mean, prior to the printing press. Generally speaking, religious work of attestation.
Religious work. Okay, so specifically with religious work, I don't have a problem with that. So we're talking 40 years later, 30, 40 years later.
That's pretty early for that time period, you know.
Yeah, so
generally
let's go with that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Paul gives us certain details about Jesus. He doesn't really say anything about, like, he never mentions Joseph. He doesn't mention a lot of details we get later on in these later Gospels that seem to. Why would Paul withhold this stuff? So what I'm getting at is where do you accept these things as historical truth when it seems to be building up over time? Like, by the time you get to John's Gospel, which is the last Gospel written, all of a sudden he's just God incarnate who was there in the beginning. Logos.
Many of the authors of Scripture refer to Jesus as God. I mean, that's not a new concept prior to John. I mean, just read Paul. He's very clear on that.
No, Paul says he's the Messiah, the Son of God. Paul would probably say he's.
Yeah, Paul believed he was God.
Paul doesn't. Does Paul actually say Jesus is God? No.
Yeah.
The 7 authentic Gospels.
Titus 3 verse 5.
I said that Paul's 7 authentic Gospels.
Titus, he didn't write a gospel.
Epistles.
This is epistle of Paul.
That's not Paul.
Yeah,
Titus.
yeah.
That's not one of the 7. That's not one of the 7 authentic texts.
Yeah, this is one of Paul's writings.
Titus is not Paul. Titus is not attributed to Paul.
Yes, read verse 1.
Well, no, I'm saying Scott. Oh, okay, so we're on a different page here. I'm talking about where scholars agree on there's 7 authentic.
Well, what Pauline letter do you accept then?
The 7 authentic epistles. Let me just pull it up real quick. So these are the 7 that I trust the scholars have.
Why don't you trust Titus?
Hold on a second. Thessalonians, Galatians, Corinthians, Philippians, Philemon, and Romans. So Titus probably written late.
Why do you believe that?
Because
I've heard one of Bart Ehrman's reasons.
Textual criticism.
You want to know one of Bart Ehrman's reason for why he doesn't accept the pastoral epistles as written by Paul?
What is it?
If I remember this correctly, if I remember this correctly, and if I remember it was him.
It's a lot of reasons, but I'm sure he's got.
One of his reasons were because it had too advanced of a ecclesiology. There's no way the church could have actually been that.
Well, yeah, that's a good reason.
No, that's an assumption.
No, but that's a good reason based on when we look at these 7 epistles that all seem to be in line with each other, seem to be written by using the same idioms, the same type of writing style, the same theological framework.
Okay, so you want me to prove that
like Hebrews.
You want me to prove that Jesus is God by Paul, right?
Well, I'm saying, the question that we're going back to was looking at those epistles by Paul, the information they were given.
Check out Romans 9:5.
Romans 9:5. What does it say?
I'll read it to you. It says, "To them belong the patriarchs," speaking of the Jews, "and from their race, according to the flesh, is the Christ, who is God over all." blessed forever. Amen.
Romans, what is it?
9:5.
There is the patriarchs from the proceeds human descent of Christ, who is God over all. Yeah, that's probably a better example of him. No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. You're good.
I'm not saying that like you can't say Jesus is God based on the text. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
I know you would probably hold a view of similar to, yeah, that's what they believe, but the historical Jesus isn't that, right? Something of that nature, right?
no, I'm saying I think Paul probably believed that Jesus was the Christ, and
Yeah,
maybe even I don't know. That's interesting. That
there's numerous texts in Pauline where Jesus is the divine, he's God as well. I mean, Peter as well. Numerous texts. And the reason why I know this so well, I have done numerous debates on the deity of Christ, and so I've had to devour some of these texts to defend this position.
So that brings us to this. Then I think this is interesting. Why the sudden shift from what Moses is being handed down with the law and saying, don't add anything, don't subtract anything. Here's the text. Here's the law. Why all of a sudden in the first century during the Roman occupation does God change his mind, decide that I'm going to come to the world as a human being and die? And what is he dying for? And
that wasn't a change.
So why doesn't he tell Moses that I'm going to come here one day and die for everyone's sins? Why doesn't he say that?
Hold on a second. Let me give a text. Now you may say this is reading in, but numerous texts, but even Moses told, or even Moses prophesied someone greater than him would come. But even in Genesis 3, it was very clear that the Jews were expecting someone to come that would crush their enemies, so to speak. Genesis 3:15 that speaks of, I will put enmity between you and a woman, and between your offspring or her offspring, and he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. And so there was always this expectation.
What does that have to do with?
Hold on a second.
What does that have to do with God coming down and dying for your sins?
Because hold on, sorry, because there was always this expectancy of the Messiah. I mean, that's what the shadows and the types were for. Through the sacrificial lamb, all that was the expectancy that was God using types and shadows.
When God tells Moses in Deuteronomy 24:16, fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor children for their fathers. Each is to die for his own sin. I mean, doesn't that kind of like go against the idea of someone dying for someone else's sins?
No, it doesn't, because again, the idea of the scapegoat. Again, this is different context. This is not speaking in the context of the scapegoat, the sacrificial lamb, God coming down in flesh to die for sinners.
These are all different things.
Deserving.
The scapegoat, the Yom Kippur goat, and the sacrificial lamb are two different things. One of them's
correct.
Yeah, the lamb is not for sins.
So
combine those together.
That's why I said the scapegoat, because they were to be sent out. There's many aspects of the sacrifice.
Leviticus 16, is it?
Yeah, God even gives a type of this. Just to show his right. He sends the scapegoat out, right? Splits in half, and God says, like that. Well, I will become if I break my covenant.
Right. How do you not see that? That's a clear allegory happening in the New Testament when you have Barabbas.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I gotta fix my camera, but just give me a second.
You're too high, man. You gotta cool down, man.
I'm still talking. You can still talk. Just let it cool down for a second. But
okay,
I'm not going nowhere.
Spitting that fire, man. You gotta cool down, man. You were saying something, and then I couldn't hear it though.
Well, okay. So how do you not, like, when I read that text, I see it's clearly allegorizing the Yom Kippur situation, where one goat is left free, the other one is slaughtered for the sins.
Yeah, it is. It is a type. It is a shadow.
Think that people were sitting there in Jerusalem, attending, where we have no evidence, and Josephus anywhere in the Talmud. There's not a single shred of evidence that this ever happened. But
that they were sacrificing animals.
No. John says that Pontius Pilate, because the Jews had a tradition of letting one person go and killing another, where we have no evidence of this tradition ever happening.
Wait, where did it say they had a
okay, let me pull
letting
it up.
one go and then killing another?
Tradition.
I know it was letting one go, but I don't know about killing one.
Agree with me. John says that Pontius Pilate had a tradition. No, the Jews had a tradition of letting one person go and kill and killing the other one.
I don't know about that part.
So let's find the verse then.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm staying corrected, but
it's in John somewhere.
Yeah, I know what you're referring to.
One prisoner,
20 something.
Yeah, did you find it?
Hold on a second. It's in John, yeah. I'll find it for you. I'm supposed to be the I'm supposed to be the Christian here. Tradition. Let me see. Man, they gave me all these vague references about tradition.
Oh, here it is. Okay, John 18:39.
There you
okay,
go.
So he says, "What is truth?" Having said this, it is your custom. So he's saying there's a Jewish custom that I release to you one prisoner at Passover. So then do you want me to release? Okay, so maybe it isn't killing the other one, but letting one go. Okay, you're right. Let's clear that out. Okay, so we have no evidence of any Jewish tradition of letting a prisoner go at Passover. So now you're sitting there. The question is, you actually think that there were people in Jerusalem sitting there going along with what's obviously some allegory of Yom Kippur, and nobody says anything? Hey, doesn't this kind of remind you of Yom Kippur, but we're doing it for humans now instead of goats?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
All right, hold on a second. So
are you taking the case of Barnabas or what?
Well, I'm saying,
or Jesus.
I'm saying, so the Yom Kippur tradition is that one goat's let go. That's the scapegoat. The other one's slaughtered for the sins of Israel. Okay, so that's not Passover. That's a different thing. But here we are at Passover, and Pontius Pilate is letting one prisoner go and slaughtering another prisoner, Jesus, who happens to be the sin offering. And you think that this sort of allegory is just playing out, and nobody's like, "Hey, this is weird. Isn't this sort of like Yom Kippur?"
Are you speaking about in the context of Jesus dying and the Barnabas being let go?
Like, do you understand? Like, what I'm getting at is, how do you?
I think I understand what. Sorry, say that again.
Like, people are going along with this, and no one says, "Hey, this reminds you of Yom Kippur." Like, how do you see this? I mean, historical.
Regardless if that's what they were thinking. I mean, I don't know. It's you asking me how do I know the minds of the person? I don't know.
All right. Well, I just wanted to hear.
I don't know the minds of what they were thinking at that time, but I know they wanted to kill Jesus because he opposed all their traditions, all their all their many of their Pharisaical traditions, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, and so what did Jesus actually sacrifice?
Himself.
But he's he knows he's been there from the beginning. He's the Logos. He knows he's not going to actually die. He's not.
Well, he died in humanity. Death does not mean a cease of existence. I saw one of your videos, like top 3 reasons why Christianity is like false.
Okay, so what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, this point, I was like, I don't get how this is a good argument. I can see how maybe
because okay, this is the thing. I understand why this is there, because this is the weeping for the dead God is a common trope throughout ancient
weeping for the dead.
Tammuz, weeping for Tammuz. It's in Ezekiel.
What does that have to do with the Bible?
Well, I'm saying the idea of God dying and people weeping over God. I see this as just a narrative.
That really wasn't. That's not the. If that's the point you see, I think you missed the point.
What's so sad about Jesus killing himself and becoming the king of the dead.
This wasn't a suicide mission. This was a willing sacrifice
To himself? Do you not see how this is like logically?
Yes, that makes no sense because you're assuming a oneness view of God, not a Trinitarian view. And so this Father, it was unto on behalf of the sins of the many unto the Father. And so
Jesus
Isaiah 53 picks many of these things of the suffering servant and
Sure,
many things like that.
I get the suffering.
And you do you see, because funny enough, when you read this passage to me,
there was actually supposed to be two messiahs originally, a suffering and triumphant Messiah.
No,
that's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm not just making that up myself.
So this shows they misunderstood both of these aspects, the dual nature or dual estates. It clearly did happen. You believe Jesus existed and he died on the cross.
Wait. Jesus said, I quote, Jesus said, Matthew 5:18, for I truly tell you, until heaven and earth pass away. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong verse. Let's see, where am I? Okay, I'm looking for the verse where he says
Matthew 5:18.
I'm looking for the verse where he says that some of you will not taste death.
I think I saw that. That might have been on that.
Here it is, Matthew 16:28. Some of you will not taste death before the Son of Man coming in his kingdom, coming in his Father's glory with his angels. Did Jesus lie? Because that didn't happen. Everybody who was alive during the time of, do you think someone's still alive? Is Peter still alive? Is Paul still alive?
Well,
everybody who was alive, he didn't come back in his kingdom. That's the end of the times.
No.
So you're saying the kingdom of heaven is here?
No. Well, it depends what you're asking about, because the kingdom has multiple references. This is what many scholars have referred to the now and the not yet aspect. In one sense, the kingdom is here. In one sense, the kingdom is future. So you have to understand the dual estates of what the Bible calls the now and the not yet principle. So I'll flesh out how this is. The Bible talks about the kingdom is within. So in one sense, the kingdom is here. But in another sense, it's future, because God's going to lay his principle, his kingdom on earth.
That's what I'm saying. If it didn't happen,
if you ignore all that, sure, it didn't happen.
That's just a cop out, because when he says,
it's not taking the Bible holistically. You're ignoring verses.
When he says, some of you will not taste death before I come back with my angels in my Father's glory with the kingdom.
Yeah,
that's the end.
No, that's not the end.
And we know from reading the epistles in the early Christian church fathers, they thought the end was coming any day.
Many Christians have been wrong about many verses.
Years from now. They said tomorrow.
Neil, correct. Many Christians have been wrong about many verses. The prosperity gospel people have been notorious for abusing verses.
Not to cut you off, I keep cutting you off. Sorry, but this is a fact that all Christians since the
majority, you got to be careful.
The majority of Christians since the beginning of Christianity have thought that the end of the world was coming any day now. That's been a thing. That's been a theme in Christianity. Let's go. I can pull up.
That's
some
right.
of the most important church fathers.
No, you don't have to, because I agree with that in one sense. Because and what they're talking about is the imminency of the return. Jesus can come at any point. They were not saying. Well, some of them weren't saying, because you did have some Christians who went try to be hermits because they thought the world was going to end. But again, the Bible does speak about the imminency of his return, but not the I guess the known day, or et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's true that Jesus could come back at any moment of that's why the Bible tells us to be ready. But again,
and so when he says that,
not predicting when.
But when he says specifically that some of you will not die before the kingdom comes,
that was true.
How do you not see that didn't happen?
I answered it. But what was my answer?
So you think the spirit of the Holy Spirit is the kingdom, and it's going to happen. Basically, there's a physical and a spiritual coming of the kingdom. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. That's what the Bible says. Jesus says the kingdom is within you.
And sounds great, but it's not convincing. I'm sure that sounds.
It doesn't have to be.
I'm sure
you're asking what the Bible teaches.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that. But there's no second. There's no two.
The Bible doesn't say that the kingdom is within.
It does say that, but it doesn't say that the kingdom, that in his Father's glory with his angels, the kingdom coming. That's that specific thing. That's the end of times. That's what the Jews are waiting for.
No, not necessarily. Again.
Yeah, but he says the kingdom of heaven was within before he even died on the cross. So that doesn't mean...
of course.
So then why would he say the kingdom of heaven is coming if it's already there?
Jesus taught many things he reminded them of.
He just said kingdom of heaven's within. So the kingdom of heaven's there. Why would he tell them that the kingdom of heaven's coming if it's already there?
Because he's reminding them of these things. I don't see how that's a strong point.
I guess that's to me that sounds like a cop out, because to me it's clear that he predicted that the world was going to end. It didn't happen, but all right. I mean, that's the nature of apologetics, man. But the best answer, the outs all day long.
It's better than trusting our feels.
Well, you are trusting your feels.
No, I'm not. I'm actually giving coherent answers. You may disagree, but I'm not basing it on my feelings.
Okay, so let's use your standard of
I grew up in a system that placed everything on feelings.
Your standard is ultimate truth is God. Why is it the Christian God over the Islamic God?
Well, again, I would be more than willing to debate this with an atheist or a Muslim, but right now the only two worldviews are Christianity.
No, that's not the only two worldviews. I told you that.
Yes, it is.
No, that's because that's not what we said.
You got to take a you got to take a stand. You got to take a stand.
Said in the beginning, truth is my stance.
What
I don't
truth?
have to pick Islam or atheism. I don't have to pick that. The truth is
you got to pick a worldview.
The truth.
What about the truth?
The most likely scenario in any case, in anything.
That's not truth.
Any subject.
Truth is not. That's not truth.
Yes, it is. So what I'm saying,
it's not truth if it's just more likely.
No, but you can't.
You have probability.
You don't get to just say I don't have to put my God up against Islamic God, because
no, that's not.
I'm asking you. If I'm asking
what
you,
I'm saying.
I'm asking you, even if I am a atheist or not. If I'm asking, why should I? If your ultimate decider of what's true is based on God saying so, why should I trust your God over another?
I gave a more in-depth answer than that. Here's the reason why I don't think it's helpful that we go down the rabbit trail of it. Because here's what will happen next. If I know why. I'm more than willing to talk with a Muslim on this issue. Because here's what will happen. We'll go down the rabbit hole of every worldview, theistic worldview, and I'll have to give a reason for each one. Right now, it's the Christian versus the atheist.
But that's not the only two options.
But that's the only two options in this debate.
And the reason why I know why you're doing this, because there is no.
Can I explain why?
There is no decider of why Christian God is true over the Muslim God.
Sure, there is.
They both are equally.
I've debated this issue and willing to debate this issue with an actual Muslim.
Yeah, but me as a outsider asking, why should I trust your God over the other God? What would you say to that? You're just going to say fuck you. I'm not going. Sorry for swearing, but you're just going to say F off. I can't tell you that because you're not a Muslim.
No, here's why. Because you don't believe in that either.
But I'm asking you why.
So we both agree. We both agree.
Exactly.
Islam is false.
Exactly.
So the only
no. There we go. That's it right there. Hold on to that thought. The way you dismiss Islam, why don't you dismiss Christianity the same way? Why would you just accept Christianity? Is it because you grew up in Christianity?
I don't call what I grew up Christianity.
All right, I'm just saying. Why did you? What makes Christianity the truth? And you can just easily dismiss.
Re-listening to my open statement. That's what I would tell you. Because it's like you asked this question about 4 or 5 times.
Your opening statement doesn't cut out Islam.
Yes, it does.
You can apply your opening statement. I can take Christianity and just replace it with this. I can take Jesus and replace it with Allah in the same argument. Yes, you can. Allah is the ultimate truth because the Quran said so.
That wasn't even my argument.
But you have no way of knowing because you don't believe in Allah, so you're just lost in space. So you don't even know if it's true because you can't compare it to Allah.
I gave a little more intelligible, in-depth argument than that. You got to give me credit for that. Give me my flowers, man.
Well, no. You're telling me
I rooted it in God's nature. The God of hold on, let me explain this. Here, I'll entertain you for a second.
All right.
The God of Allah is completely different than the God of Christianity, and so it would be totally different than just placing God with Yahweh.
Okay, so why? What makes Christian?
There's fundamental differences with Allah and Christianity.
Like what?
Even on the nature of God. One I rooted it in God's character. Islam states that God can deceive. He is a liar. So one issue,
Christianity says that God can be jealous.
okay, it's not a
So
sin.
I can say that. I could be like, I could just
It's
pull
not
that.
a sin. It's not a sin to be jealous. I'm married, and I can tell you, it's not a sin to be jealous.
A sin. What is a sin? Wait. You're operating within Christianity to prove
That's
Christianity.
right.
The idea of
That's
sin
right.
that comes
I'm
from.
appealing to my ultimate
So
authority. That's
it's a
correct.
circular argument.
Yep.
You're operating within
Yep.
Christianity.
It's a virtuous circle. That's
Christianity-
correct. How do you?
I rest my
Let
case.
me show you.
Honestly, I'm done.
How do you know? How do you know?
That's all I have to. That's all I have to get at.
How do you
You're
know?
saying Christianity is true because Christianity said so.
I gave a little more
Yeah,
intelligible argument than that. But
it's not
let me
the-
ask you this: how do you know your logic is true? How do you know you're thinking logically?
because I can test my thinking to other people openly
Do you use your logic to do that?
without being dogmatic.
Do you use your logic to do that?
Yeah, but I also have other people that
So
criticize
you use your logic to justify
and
your logic.
others.
Okay, and you use their logic.
Yeah.
So you use logic to
It's
justify logic.
literally the opposite of dogmatism. You use
So
dogmatism to
You
prove
use logic to
you need
justify.
dogmatism to
Hold
be
on,
true.
hold on. I'm showing you. I'm showing your double standard here. You use logic to justify logic.
Yeah,
Isn't
but
that circular reasoning?
no, because I can I can
Well, then
change
neither is mine.
no. Because
Good night, folks.
I can change my position. I can change my position based on more information.
Logic.
No, based on more information.
What you would use your logic for?
You can't do that. You can't like
You're right,
earlier.
I can change
today,
my position on
no,
some
no.
things.
Earlier today, when I asked you about Adam and Eve living in 6000 BCE, you didn't even want to go there because you knew that was
No,
that information.
I gave a reasoning for it.
Oh, good. That's bad information for you. So you have to
No.
neglect it.
All
So you
truth is
have
God.
to. You're operating within Christianity in order to make Christianity.
You're operating on logic to prove logic.
You're saying Allah can't be real because he sinned, but that sin comes out of your Bible. So your Bible has to be true in order to
Look.
Allah.
Do
you see how that
Neil,
makes no sense?
I've stated from the beginning my ultimate standard and truth. You pointing that out an hour and a half later isn't surprising to anyone who's been listening. Everyone has an objective ultimate standard, everyone has an ultimate standard or authority they appeal to.
Or let me play with that
too.
And this is the last
It's
thing.
just hold on, wait a second, because everyone has one. It's just for yourself. It's your feelings. But
no, it's
you
not
go
my
to what you
feelings.
said.
It's not my feelings.
You just said earlier it was. That's how you know rape is wrong.
Yeah,
your feels.
Rape's wrong because
Because your feels.
Well, it's not just because my feels. There's a lot.
Well, that's the answer you gave.
Well, rape is wrong because when someone's raped, they feel it's not. It's
they feel bad.
It's like asking. It's like the Descartes. I think. Therefore, it's like there is no.
It just is.
It just is right.
It is what is axiomatic truth.
Let me play with this
because I say so.
The last avenue I want to go down because you said Allah can't be real because he said that because he sinned according to your Bible. So Jesus saying that you can eat you pick grain on the Sabbath, that's a sin. Why is he God?
So this is misunderstanding the true nature of the Sabbath. The Sabbath essentially was not what the Pharisees had made it to come to.
I'm not talking about the Pharisees. I'm talking about Deuteronomy and talking about the Torah.
Yeah. Well, that's the context of what it's coming about.
That's not from the Pharisees.
Let me explain what I'm talking about. The Sabbath was typological in nature. And Jesus actually exhibits the true nature of the Sabbath about rest. And what God is doing through the nature of the Sabbath is showing that if Christians come to him, he will give them rest. He will give them Sabbath.
Right. So he changed.
No, he abrogates it. He again, the Sabbath was a civil issue. I mean, not all laws were
it's one of the 10 commandments. Are you kidding me?
It's a civil issue that is typological in nature. I would do some study on typology and Sabbath if you want to go down further on this argument. I could recommend some good books, by the way.
Right, but you're just okay. All right. I don't know if you have anything else you want to ask me because I think where I'm at is like you're saying Christianity is true. And nothing else can be true because it doesn't follow the standards that are given by the Bible. So if the Bible in order for anyone to,
I gave a lot more than that. I also said reality, ethics, stuff like that. But